Hello dear students, today we are going to start the chapter of inflation. So let's start with the definition of inflation. So many people have given different definitions or their viewpoint about inflation. So let's start with one by one. Inflation is a state in which the value of money is falling, that is prices are rising according to Professor Crowther. It is the issue of too much currency, as Professor Hawtrey said. Too much currency in relation to the physical volume of business being done. This was the idea of Professor Kammerer. It is a sustained rise in prices according to Johnson. A continuing increase in the general price level is known as inflation according to Bruman. A persistent and appreciable rise in general level of prices is called inflation according to Shapiro. It is a state of disequilibrium in which an expansion of purchasing power tends to cause or is the effect of an increase of the price level according to Professor Paul Inzig. The rise in the price level after the point of full employment is true inflation according to Jenkins. Jenkins given a new terminology to the concept of inflation known as true inflation. Pre-full employment inflation is semi-inflation that was also introduced by J.M. Keynes. So let's start with distinction between money inflation and price inflation. According to Paul Inzing, he make a differentiation between these two concepts. Money inflation, first stage of inflation in which the excess of money supply over business requirements pushes up the price level. So money inflation is because of excess money supply. Price inflation, the second stage of inflation, when the rising price level necessitates a rapid expansion of the supply of money. Under this, prices rise with such rapidity that even the money supply cannot keep pace with them. That is why called true inflation. So true inflation term was coined by J.M. Keynes. Okay, so the same terminology was introduced here. So yes, so now start with what is the inflation rate. It is the rate at which prices of goods and services increase in an economy. So this is the ordinary concept, or you can say this is the ordinary idea that we generally see in the economy. It is an indication of the rise in general level of prices over time. Mathematically, inflation or inflation rate is calculated as the percentage rate of change of a certain price index. Widely used price indices are consumer price index adopted by countries such as USA, UK, Japan and China, and wholesale price index adopted by countries such as India. So let's focus on approaches to the theory of inflation. Number one is quantity theory of money approach. According to this approach, increase in quantity of money causes an inflationary rise in the price level. It does not adequately explain the phenomenon of hyperinflation which took place in Germany in the post-war period, and it is not applicable to an economy which suffers from depression and unemployment. Second approach is the excess demand approach given by J.M. Keynes. Total demand for goods exceeds the total supply of goods at current prices. Demand exceeds in situations like war period, planning period, period of rapid technological improvement. Total supply of goods and services declines for certain reasons without a corresponding fall in their demand. So let's focus on causes of inflation. So there are different kinds of factors. A few factors which cause increase in demand, a few factors which cause decrease in demand. So let's focus on the factors which cause increase in demand. So increase in public expenditure, increase in private expenditure, increase in exports, reduction in taxation, repayment of past internal debts, rapid population growth, black money, deficit financing. Deficit financing basically the printing of fresh currency notes, right? Cheap monetary policy or the policy of credit expansion. Cheap monetary policy means providing loans at cheaper rate of interest. that is called cheap monetary policy. Okay, increase in consumer spending. External factors causing a decrease in demand: shortage of supplies of factors of production, industrial disputes, natural calamities, operation of law of diminishing returns. Lopsided production means unidirectional production. Hoarding by traders, hoarding by consumers. Now let's focus on different types of inflation that we generally observe, or you can say that have been observed in different kinds of economies. So let's go for study these concepts one by one. Demand inflation, as the name clearly indicates, because of demand increase. So due to increase in aggregate effective demand for goods and services in the economy. Cost inflation, mainly due to an increase in wages, profit margins, and imposition of heavy commodity taxes. Also, it includes frequent devaluation in national currency. Bottleneck inflation, price rise before the point of full employment, that is called bottleneck inflation. Creeping inflation, price rise is very slow, like the pace of a snail or creeper. Price level rises approximately by 2% annually. Walking or trotting inflation, so speed is somewhat higher. Prices rise moderately at a single digit rate. Inflation rate rises approximately by 5% annually. Running inflation, prices rise rapidly, like running of a horse at a rate of speed of 10 to 20% per annum. So prices rise approximately by 10% annually. Galloping inflation or hyperinflation, prices rise very fast at double or triple digit rates from more than 20 to 100% per annum or even more. Price level rises approximately by 16% annually. Okay. Comprehensive inflation, prices of all commodities register a rise in the economy. Sporadic or sectoral inflation, prices of only a few commodities rise due to central physical bottlenecks. Open inflation, the government does not take any step to check rise in price level. Repressed inflation, government actively intervenes to check the rise in price level, for example by rationing or by administrative prices. Partial inflation, price rise due to the expansion of money supply in the pre-full employment stage. Full inflation, price rise due to the expansion of money supply after the point of full employment. Peacetime inflation, price rise during peacetime as a result of increased government expenditure on ambitious developmental projects in the economy and occurs during a period of planned economic development in backward and underdeveloped countries. Next is wartime inflation, increase in the output of goods and services does not keep pace with the expansion of money supply during a period of war. Post-war inflation, this is the situation before war, after war. The rise in price level immediately after the war, which is more rapid than during wartime inflation. Currency inflation, an excess supply of money in relation to the available output of goods and services, generally occurs at a time of war. Credit inflation, an expansion of credit by a government without expanding money supply and circulation. Main objectives are to lighten the burden of indebtedness of the farmers, to expand production, to mobilize financial resources for developmental plans. Profit induced inflation. So this is the inflation because when profit earning class increases the prices just because to have higher profits. Deficit induced inflation, government is unable to cover budget deficit by restoring to cover taxes and public borrowing. That's why it goes for printing of fresh currency. Wage induced inflation, workers organize themselves into powerful trade unions and force employers to increase their wages, giving rise to production cost and the prices of goods and services. Scarcity induced inflation, money supply does not increase but the supply of goods decreases on account of natural calamities, giving rise to prices. Markup inflation, in USA, big business organizations calculate their production costs and add to these costs a certain markup to increase the targeted profit rate on their capital investment, which gives rise to significant inflation. Ratchet inflation, prices in excess demand sectors rise. They are not allowed to fall in the deficient demand sector. The net result is a rise in general price level. Stagflation, when inflation and unemployment have negative relationship. Sectoral inflation, rise in prices restricts to a particular sector of the economy and spreads to other sectors if timely steps are not taken. Imported inflation, due to the operation of external inflationary pressures which are transmitted to the country concerned through foreign trade. Now focus on stages of inflation. Basically there are three stages: pre-full employment stage, full employment stage and post-full employment stage. So number one, rise in price level is less than proportionate to the increase of money supply. The output of goods and services does not increase in the same proportion in which the money supply increases. According to full employment stage, production becomes constant due to full employment of resources. Prices increase in the same proportion in which the money supply increases. Post full employment stage is that price rise is much more than the increase in money supply. So let's focus on the concept of inflationary gap that was proposed by J.M. Keynes. An excess of anticipated expenditure over available output at base prices is inflation or hyperinflation, or you can say yes, this is inflation by Kurihara, a situation where anticipated expenditure, that is demand for output, exceeds the available output at pre-inflation prices. This is the result of excess demand in an economy, so net disposable income becomes equal to total money income minus taxation minus savings. Total anticipated expenditure becomes equal to C for consumption, I for investment, G for government spending. That is equal to private consumption expenditure is C, private investment expenditure denoted by I, and government expenditure on goods and services denoted by G. Inflationary gap equals to net disposable income minus real output of goods and services. Non-inflationary gap, when total anticipated expenditure becomes equal to GNP or real income of the economy. So measures to lower down the inflationary gap in case of a wartime economy, which is a full employment economy. Number one, imposition of taxes, and number two, public borrowing. These are the two weapons we have, right, to lower down the inflation gap in case of wartime economy. Effects of inflation, effects on production. Discourages savings of public, thereby reduces the process of capital accumulation. Depreciates the value of money, thereby reduces foreign capital already invested in the country. Investment level suffers, which adversely affects the volume of production. Gives rise to business uncertainty, which discourages the businessman from taking business risk. It results to luxury goods. It results in the diversion of productive resources from essential goods to luxury goods, creating further shortages of consumer goods for common man. Gives rise to a serious deterioration of the quality of goods. It leads to hoarding of essential goods by both the traders and consumers, and gives stimulus to speculative activities. Disrupts smooth working of price mechanism, thereby creating an all-round confusion. People lose confidence in home currency and rush to buy foreign currency to safeguard their assets. So effects on distribution, what are the effects? Leads to redistribution of income and wealth in favor of richer and more affluent classes of the society. Flexible income groups are the gainers, such as businessmen, merchants, traders, manufacturers, etc. Fixed income groups are the losers, such as workers, salaried employees, teachers, pensioners, interest and rent receivers, etc. Debtors are gainers, but the creditors are losers. Unorganized workers are the losers, their cost of living increases. Investors in equities are the gainers, but the investors in fixed interest yielding bonds and debentures are the losers. Small farmers do not gain as much from high prices as the big farmers. Non-economic consequences, unjust and inequitable for the society. Inflation creates sense of grievance and heartburning in adversely affected sections. It leads to social conflicts in the society, which can have very serious political consequences. It deals a serious blow to the business morality and ethics. It results all round corruption. It leads to general discontentment in the public, which may result in loss of faith in the integrity and honesty of the government. And now let's focus on anti-inflationary measures. So how can we overcome from the situation? Number one, fiscal policy. So we will study fiscal policy and monetary policy separately in detail. Basically, there are four instruments of the fiscal policy through which government can control inflationary situation, like public revenue, that is related with the earning of the government; public expenditure, that is related with the expenses made by the government and categorized into two groups: priming and compensatory spending; public debt, loans taken by the government; and deficit financing, the currency printed freshly by the government. Second one is monetary policy. So the instruments are money supply, interest rate, credit control measures, that has been divided into two categories: qualitative or selective credit control measures. It includes moral persuasion, rationing of credit, change in marginal requirements, and direct action. Second one is quantitative credit control measures. It includes bank rate, open market operations, CRR, SLR, repo rate, and reverse repo rate. How is inflation rate calculated? So this is the formula that is based on wholesale price index. Wholesale price index of end of the year minus wholesale price index of beginning of the year divided by wholesale price index of beginning of the year multiplied by 100. So an example has been given here. Wholesale price index of January 1 1980 is 106.09, and wholesale price index of January 1 1981, that is for the next year, is 109.72. Then inflation rate for the year 1981 is 109.72, wholesale price index of the end year, right? End year means the second year, minus 106.09, that is wholesale price index of the beginning year. Beginning year is 1980, divided by wholesale price index of the beginning year 106.09 multiplied by 100. So inflation rate is 3.42%. And we say the inflation rate for the year 1981 is 3.42%. Since WPI figures are available every week, inflation for a particular week, which usually means inflation for a period of 1 year ended on the given week, is calculated based on the above method using WPI of the given week and WPI of the week 1 year before. This is how we get weekly inflation rates in India. So this was the detailed you can say elaboration of the inflation concept. So today we stop here, and in the next lecture we will start with a new topic. Till then, goodbye.